flavor'd you go with?
I don't know, but I didn't look, but there's some sugar in that. It tastes like trash can punch. You know what trash can punch is, right? Huh?
Yeah, I've had a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's a bad deal.
Used to be a good deal when I was in college. Yeah. Was it a good deal when you were in college?
Yeah.
Great.
Well, I mean, it was while I was drinking it, but it wasn't that night and the next day. Then it was like, I'm never doing that again. The next day, hey guys, where y'all going tonight? Okay, I'm ready when y'all are.
I mean, Scott, I'll take the first one.
Go for
I got
it.
you.
It's all you.
Nick Martin and Connor Oliver, they lead you guys in sacks from the linebacker position. Is that a consequence you guys kind of expected moving to the 3-3-5?
There's more contribution in that area from second level guys than would be in a traditional even front team. As you know, we play probably 20% of the time in an even front with Colin. You know that, right? You watch us do it. So he contributes quite a bit more there. But when we're in an odd front, Nick obviously fires a lot in passing situations.
He gets to the quarterback quick when he decides to go.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, speed or like just commitment? What do you see when he does that?
I think there's an art to learning when to go in this defense. He obviously is really fast and he's good at it. And he's gotten better as the season's gone on, just getting the feel of when to attack. Because you don't want to attack in the wrong gap and the quarterback go the other way, which can happen. So he has to wait until the last second until he has a feel for where he can attack the best and not lose the quarterback.
Is that one of the best explosive plays in this defense is the delayed blitz? Because a lot of these sacks are off delayed blitzes.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages of it. You get a fourth rusher. Now, he doesn't get there as fast because he's not on the line, but he can go where he wants based on his vision.
How much did having a guy like Jake bring back on Saturday open up options for you guys offensively?
Well, it helps. One, it gives us depth so we can practice better during the week. The difficult aspect of having multiple injuries at one position is during the week you can't practice very much because guys can only go so many reps, and so you really lack in your practice opportunities. And having guys back gives us a chance to practice better during the week, which gives us a better chance to play better on Saturday. And he started to feel pretty good. I didn't know how much we would be able to play him. When you're out for 4 or 5 weeks and you get back in, human nature is a little tentative, but he gives us another dimension. He can go up and get the ball. He's long and rangy and can jump. So it's nice to have him back on the team.
Along the same lines, when you looked at the video, did you think this was one of the better games for the offensive line as a whole?
I thought they covered guys up and played pretty well. Houston was all over the place with 3 down, 4 down. They were in sellout, stop-run defense, edge pressure, middle pressure, safety pressure. And our offensive linemen held it together and covered guys up. And, eventually, in most cases, when that happens, if you'll just stay the course throughout the game, you're going to pop through. You're going to hit some runs. You're going to hit some down-the-field throws. And that's what happened for us in the second half.
Going back to Nick for a second, you talk about his speed. I mean, his closing speed really showed on Saturday, but also his ability to finish when he gets there. I mean, am I oversimplifying it, or are those kind of the two things that really make him?
Yeah, he's really good. He was that way in high school. We liked him in high school for just those reasons. He would run and strike. We could probably go back to signing day his senior year, and the one thing I said about him was he's a kind of a throwback old school football player. He plays violent, and he plays with great speed. You don't see that a lot nowadays, and that's why we liked him. He was undersized, kept him from being really, really heavily recruited, in my opinion. But he's growing into his own, but he keeps those characteristics. He loves to play football. He likes to practice, cares about his team. He's tough, and he can run. Those are a good thing for defensive guys.
Was there a time when you wondered if the size was going to be an issue, or did he kind of answer those questions early?
Not really. We brought him in. He was light, but in most cases, those guys are going to put on at least 20 in our developmental program, and that's what happened. Height-wise doesn't bother us. Malcolm was a really, really good player here, and he's undersized in somebody's opinion, and Malcolm, height-wise, in somebody's opinion, was undersized. that's never concerned us, as long as they can run and hit and they like to play, which those guys fall in that category.
You talked about your home crowds quite a bit this year, but part of that game almost looked like a home game down in Houston. You had fans in UCF, you've had fans in Arizona. What have you thought about the way the fans have traveled this year?
Well, they've done a great job. I've complimented them throughout the year. I think they were really excited about the new conference and new teams, and I know they wanted to go to Arizona. They wanted to go to Florida. We have a huge alumni base in Houston. I think out of Oklahoma it might be the largest. I'm not for sure, but I know it's one of the largest with all your oil and gas and engineers and such down in that area. And I thought we had more fans there than the other team, which is a compliment to our people and certainly helps us. Our crowd supported the team. The guys felt it, I'm sure, and contributes to a better season for us.
The last drive the other night, Mike, I was, like all of us here, probably half working and half watching that late in the night, or late in the game. I wasn't sure that Ollie dropped the ball near midfield. I thought maybe I was like, did he really just do that? Or it bounced back in his hands until I read the play-by-play and it said fumble. Did you see that? Did you see that moment?
Yeah, I saw it. I was a little shocked, but we were very fortunate. The ball jumped right back in his hands, and those are things that, as a coach, that I can only speak for myself, but when I lay in bed at night trying to go to sleep, when I'm driving to work or driving somewhere, those things never get out of your head. When we're in those situations in games, which this year's every game, and last year for the most part is every game, okay? There's not many games where you're not in a tough, tight situation in the last half of the fourth quarter. And in the huddle on the sideline, our coaches and players will have a hard time finding a time that I don't say I need a good snap, I need the ball retrieved, and I need to put it in his belly, and I need two hands on it. That's the one thing that I need. From that point on, we can deal with anything else. If we have to punt, we can punt. And I said it there multiple times. And then it's like anything else, it still happened. And we got fortunate, it bounced right back in his hands.
Talk about the close nature of the conference. Mm-hmm. So many thin margin plays that have to about go your way. And you've taken stock in how many have gone your way over this run. There was West Virginia has a lead, you're punting to them. Their own teammate knocks them over, right? You recover their fumble.
Yeah, threw him into him on purpose, yeah.
Change sort of tilt of the game for you. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma has a couple of bad snaps here. Mm-hmm. You recovered, you took advantage, but it was their mistakes initially. That's just one of those things that some years I guess it works for you, right?
Yeah, so I haven't looked at it, but when the scores, when I'm watching games at night, on the way home on the airplane, the scores come across the bottom of the screen and you see who won and what their record is. And so I was thinking, flying home, if you took the teams that are at the top of our league and gave them one more loss and took the teams that are in that middle bunch and gave them one more win, you would almost flip spots. That's how close this league is. And there's not much room for error now. And so, and really it's across the country, you're seeing it. And I think the one thing that we try to hang our hat on here is to be a smart football team. And if another team plays better and gets a few breaks and beats us, that's easier to live with than if we have a number of unforced errors and don't play smart and give them the game. So we try to stress that to the team constantly. I talk about it every day with them in meetings and after practice, is to be a smart football player. Make them earn what they get. Let's not help them. And sometimes we get help, and we've been in a fortunate situation this year.
I want to ask you what you think of BYU, but before that, I want to know what you think of playing BYU, because I've known you long enough to know that you're a football historian, traditionalist, all those things, and this is going to be kind of fun to see those colors and that uniform in the stadium. Yeah,
they're a good addition to the league. We mentioned that, and I think that from coast to coast, their logo would trigger in most people's minds a Power 5 school forever. I thought they were. I didn't know what Power 5 was or different conferences or levels when I was, junior high and high school and college. I always thought they were a bit, what people considered a big conference school. And then, the tie that they have in, and they've always played difficult schedules. And so they're a really good addition to the league. And I think that's one of the reasons that the crowd, the fans have been to so many games and sold out the stadium and such, because I think they're excited about seeing the new teams in the conference. And then you'll have it again next year.
So what do you think, at least what you've seen so far, getting ready for BYU?
We're facing another option team. They're going to run triple option, and they do it different ways. They run speed option. They run read zone triple option. They like to use the tight end. I think he's 83. They split him out to a single. They use him as number 3 to the field, number 3 receiver. They put him at the front of a bunch set. They like him. They're going to run the plays, the traditional running game they've always had. Defensively, they base out of a 4 down. They'll play some 3 down. They're going to bring their linebackers a lot. What we saw Saturday, in my opinion, we'll see the same thing with them. They like to crossfire their inside backers over and over and over and over. So I'm sure they'll do that. They're going to play man coverage against us. They'll play a little 3 deep to mix it up, but they're going to get up and press us and play man, cross linebackers, and insert an extra safety to stop the run.
Mike, do you know who Alex Lloyd is, or was?
Who?
Alex Lloyd.
Name doesn't ring a bell.
Well, you're too young to remember, but in
That's rare. Aaron know who he is?
he didn't know one day. In 1949, he caught 16 passes for Oklahoma A&M in a game, and Brennan caught 15. Of course, in the game on Saturday, almost caught him. Does it surprise you that a passing record has stood that long, 16 catches?
That's a great history lesson. I did not know that, so that's true. Wow, that's cool. I did not know that. There's not a lot about Oklahoma State football I don't know, but I did not know that. Yes, that does surprise me. At the game on Saturday, Hartley Dykes was there on the sideline. I don't know if you guys saw him. You probably don't know what he looks like, but some of you guys might know. But anyway, and he would come over and try to talk to me during the game. It's one of the few people that, I actually have a job to do. But anyway, I was visiting with him, and if the offenses that we're in now that we used back then, he would have had 20 catches a game, because you couldn't cover him at all. 2 people couldn't cover him. I'm surprised Justin Blackman hadn't got that many. James Washington played with so many other receivers that were in NFL that we had to spread it around. But that shocks me that it's been that long.
Mike, I think he had the 16th catch. I think he had 16, but there was like defensive holding or something. Would you have declined the penalty if you knew that it would tie the record? It would have been like 2nd and 4.
What quarter was it?
Legal
Okay.
sub.
Yeah, it was one of the.
What quarter was it?
It was the second legal sub that Bowman got the snap off.
So it was way too early to think about anything like that. We were just trying to get in the game, probably. So.
It was late. It was the second.
Late for us solidifying that game was with like a minute left. So
Senior Day Saturday, there's 28 seniors on this team. Do you know, or have you have conversations with guys that might be coming back next year, or is that a postseason kind of thing?
the thing that we lose now, we used to have a really cool senior banquet where you honor the seniors and spend a little time with them after the season. We don't do that anymore because we don't know who seniors are. And you can't plan it. Like, you have to plan things like that. And some players that are on our team now might not know if they're going to play again next year or not. Right or wrong, they just might not have decided. So we lose that. And then senior day, I think I asked them, and I'm fairly certain we had 3 or 4 guys that went through senior day last year that are playing now. So for that reason, we try to do the best we can with getting guys that are somewhat seniors, but you got waivers filed, you got COVID years, you have a number of things that are still going on. So we do the best we can, but we don't have that conversation with them because now's not the time or place.
Mike, to go back to Brennan, he has 15 catches on Saturday alone. He had 15 in the first 4 games combined. Is there anything you guys have done that's allowed him to be more open, become a more consistent target in the past year?
Well, we block better and run the football, and that allowed us to be a balanced team. And early in the year, we weren't very good at rushing the ball. We weren't blocking, covering guys up. Our concepts weren't very good, and so we couldn't throw the ball very well. And the pass mode we were in then was a little different than what it is now. Fortunately, in most of these games, we've had the ability to pass when we want. Then we had to pass because we were behind or struggling to run the ball. And we were getting coverages that are not as favorable for throwing passes. So for that reason, and we have moved him around a lot since that point that we've run the ball. We have more ability to move him in different spots and motion him and some things that try to free him up. You have flexibility in those situations. You don't have flexibility when you can't rush the ball.
With Brennan from Saturday and also maybe a little bit looking forward to this week, how much did the success he had early help you guys to maybe free some things up for Ollie to get going? And could that be the case again this week if they're running?
It's balanced. It's you really have to be able to rush the ball to throw it, and you have to be able to throw it to rush it. Now, what we've seen the last 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, I don't know when we played West Virginia, the second half of West Virginia, they just started playing all run defense. I don't remember how many games ago that was, but from that point on, we've seen basically run defense, right? You're at our games. It's everybody in the box, running safeties down, inserting outside players. So we throw the ball more. I don't know how many yards we threw for Saturday, but I'm sure 250 or at least or something, right? Yeah, 300 yards. So because they're playing run defense, and you have to have that balance. Now, the difficult side of that is you still want Ollie to be able to touch the ball. And we can control that because he's in the backfield. As I've said before, it's difficult to control getting the ball to a guy on the perimeter. But it's also a decision we have to make that if they're inserting and running linebackers through and all the different things we've seen the last month, if we want to continue to bang our head against a wall rushing the ball. You know, it's kind of a two-way street.
I think Bray had like 15 snaps. Is that kind of the plan to work him back slowly, or could he be more available?
I don't know that there was a plan, numbers-wise. I knew that we wanted to get him out there, get him going. He looked fairly good in practice last week. He didn't look like himself, but that's a normal progression in my opinion. It worked out. I didn't know how many snaps he got. I knew it wasn't more than 30. And I think that's probably about where he should have been. And I feel good about him being up and running pretty good this week. So we have a little depth now. You know, we've got 17 out there, and we've got Bray out there. And then you got Presley, and then I think 8's coming back. Somebody told me that this morning. So if he's practicing, that gives us a couple slots that we've had. And then out on the perimeter, you got 10. And then the freshman Hurd is out there with him. He's finally gotten back. He hadn't practiced since August, and he's been back, came back last week. So we'll let him play a little bit.
Cabby's playing some too.
Cabby's rotating in. So we finally have some depth. I mean, it was hard to practice for about 3 weeks out there.
Must be nice.
Well, it's the way it's supposed to be, but it was difficult for about 3 weeks. We didn't have many guys to practice with.
Is it nerve-wracking when you go on the road? You got, I think, 7 receivers, 3 running backs, and I think 3 true freshmen that haven't really played all that much?
Pretty much everything I do is nerve-wracking. Unfortunately, but I like what I do for now. You know, I guess most coaches probably feel like me. When you have your somewhat full stable, we know we're going to have injuries, but over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had big hits in certain spots that makes it difficult. So now I'm put in a situation of how much do we practice? What's the risk of getting another guy injured? And not losing the physicalness of practicing the right way, because there is no substitute for long, hard practices, period, none. But sometimes you can't do that based on where you're at.
You have to start protecting Ollie a little bit more throughout the week at this point?
Just let him go. Ollie needs to practice hard. He needs to be in practice, needs to get banged around. He needs to practice hard. The guys that I've been around that were at that position all the way up through my coaching career that played for a long time, practiced hard all the time at that position. And the reason why is because you take a lot of hits and stuff in games, and if you protect a guy where he doesn't get banged around any in practice, then he's susceptible in a game. So he needs to practice hard.
Have you noticed any sense of or more fight in this team versus last year's team as the season's gone on?
More fight?
More fight and like coming back.
Well, we went through a tough stretch last year when we got waxed in a couple games, and then we had a few major injuries. And like I said, it's to no fault of Spencer's, but we went a month and played games, and our quarterback never practiced. It's not a good situation for anybody. And so when we went through that, the team had a hard time staying together, and this team hadn't had that issue. So, and to a certain extent, it's to no blame of the guys that were here last year. Unfortunately, as I've said this to you, in August, I don't have any idea what the chemistry is going to be of the football team coming up. I'll know that in about October. And if I knew how to make it good all the time and right every year, I would do it. But I don't think anybody across the country knows that. I know I read some stuff that Coach Saban had a couple quotes from him a while back, last week or something, and I saw where he was very complimentary of this team this year. And he said that these guys are really fun to coach because of those reasons. And he's exactly right. Sometimes the fans and the public and you guys lose perspective that it may not be the funnest time to coach a team that's winning double-digit games if they don't really come together and they don't have a good relationship. Sometimes we've coached teams that may have only won 7 or 8 games, but they're fun to coach. The players like each other, and we have good relations. It's fun to be out there. You know, it's kind of like the old, just because you have a family, you have a lot of money, doesn't mean you're happy. That doesn't bring happiness. Happiness is the other side of it. It's the same thing with coaching. These guys are fun to coach. I don't have to do many off the field things with them this year.
Does it make it easier to have that chemistry, have that togetherness when you're also winning, when you're also in a position to play for a championship?
Yeah, winning cures a lot. Playing college football, I'm going to guess everywhere else is the same as here. It's extremely difficult. There's a lot of wear and tear on your body. You're hurt most of the time during your career. It's a long, grueling June and July, and then the season. And so when you are put in a situation like that, and anything we do in life, and you don't get some type of reward, then it can be extremely difficult. So, if we were sitting here, I don't know, what are we now, 8-3? If we were sitting here at 5-6, would these guys' attitude be as good as it is now? I would say there's a chance, because so far they've shown me that. Like, they had a chance to crumble in Florida, and they didn't. But I think if you're 8-3, it gives you a better chance of that not happening.
Of course, this kind of ties into that a little bit. I want to ask about the defensive culture. Has Nardo had enough time to establish a culture? And if he has, what has it been?
I think the players really, really like him. One of the things that he does is he has a really calm, kind of a magnetic personality. He's a very humble, down-to-earth person, and I think the players like that. He goes out of his way to acknowledge them all the time and develop relationships with them. Like, he's the opposite of me. Like, I don't have any friends. Not very many people like me. But I don't go out of my way because that's just not who I am. I work, I do my job, and I go home. And he's got that relationship with these guys, in my opinion. That would be something good you could ask him postseason, ask some of the players, but I think that's the answer you'll get, just from me standing back and watching.
In bigger picture than just Nardo with this year, I mean, you think 2021, the defensive success, but like it's been quietly kind of pretty good defense here at Oklahoma State.
That's a pretty good that's a pretty good definition of it. Yeah.
What's the culture of Oklahoma State defense now?
Well, it's going to change every year. None of us were you here in 21. None of us could have predicted the 21 year, right? Nobody could have predicted that. That group just came together. Jim had finally gotten to where he knew what he wanted to do based on the talent we have, and he was good at it, and our kids bought into it, and we were really good at what we did. And we lived with sacks. That's what we lived with. Every year it'll be a little different, okay? We have a base culture and parameters for what I want from a defense, an offense, and special teams. Like, for lack of a better term, the commandments, basically. You can do what you want, how you want. This is what I want done. You can get there however you want to get there. Same thing on defense, same thing on special teams. So it's going to change a little bit, but this is the basic things that I want accomplished in our program in these three phases. And so Brian is just now adapting to it, and the defense has played pretty good. There's times that we will all want them to play better, and we drop coverage and stuff, and they're doing a better job of that. But overall, in a league that's like this, they've played pretty good.
Going back to Brendan, you guys have started using this motion where he starts in a slot and essentially runs behind the guy on the outside, gets a running start at things. How beneficial can that be for those speedy guys to essentially get running starts on their routes?
Well, there's a couple things that gives you. One is most defenses are going to base their alignment on what is the strength of the offense. Okay, so if there's more eligible receivers over here than there are over here, they're going to set the strength over here. Unless the defense says, I want to set the strength to the field and not to the boundary. That's why you see teams put a whole bunch of people in the boundary. That's because they may be a field strength team. Now you put your strength in the boundary, so now defensively they got to make a decision. Do I want to set the strength here, or do I want to set the strength there? And it can be complicated for a defense, okay? So when he moves around a lot, it changes the strength of the offense. So if we're in a 2-by-2 and he goes over there, obviously now it's a 3-by-1, the strength is over here. So offenses, particularly, and I'll get back to that, but the thing that's interesting in this league is now evolving as an unbalanced, goofy, funky formation league, right? We're not into it as much as KU's doing a great job with it, Iowa State's doing a good job with it, Kansas State's doing a good job with it, Cincinnati, they're doing all these funky formations, unbalanced sets, okay? And that's the way the game's evolving in this league. And what will happen is it'll spread across the country in a couple of years, just like RPOs started here and then went across the country. But my point is when he moves around, we can control the strength of the defense most of the time. And he's somewhat of a moving target. So, like in this last game, Houston was setting their calls based on where he was at in this game. Like if he went over here, they were calling right. If AD went over here, they were calling left. For some reason. Now, I don't know the integral part of their defense. I just know that they were setting something based on him. So moving him around keeps him from just sitting there and letting people zero in on him. And then it also allows him to stay on the run. And when he's moving around, he's kind of hard to control. So we've been very fortunate. You know, we've given him the ball multiple times this year, and there was nowhere for him to go, and he'd make two people miss and get 8 yards. So that's the reason, some of the reasons why we move him around.
Have you had a receiver go in that much motion before?
No, we were a turbo team and an RPO team. And in a turbo team and an RPO team, you don't move people around a lot because you confuse the quarterback. That's what I'm saying. It's interesting with what's going on now in this league with the new formations, that the trend's starting to move that way now in this league. It's pretty interesting.
You've mentioned the conference could flip easily. Could be chaos in standings. Have you tried to wrap your head around these tiebreaker scenarios or anything at all?
No, I haven't even looked at it. And sometimes Sean will be nice and ask me if I need to know. I don't really care. The only thing I can control is us getting ready to play in this game. Beyond that point, I don't have anything to do with it.
Nathan Latu is not a guy that we ask about a lot. But
Who?
Nathan Latu. Seems like he has really just kind of settled into just a really kind of reliable type of role over his time here.
Yeah, I just saw him in the weight room and told him he's done a really good job being a leader in the last month. And he was really good down there in Houston. Nate is a very passionate young man and likes to be successful all the time. Very prideful. And that's not the way life works. We all want to be that way, but we don't have that luxury. And he, in my opinion, he's now overcome that and realizes that as long as his attitude's good, he continues to do what we ask him to do, correct his mistakes and play hard, that he's going to help us and help himself in the future. And he's really done well the last month, and particularly the last couple weeks. And he was a good leader in Houston. Like early in the game, we had some things that we needed to fix up front, and our coaches were fixing them. And then I saw him when they walked off. He said, "Coach, I got it. I'll get him coached up." And he went over and he was like coaching the younger kids. He's never done that before. So it took a little while, but our culture and our organization has finally instilled in him how to do things right.
Mike, what are you most thankful for this year in the spirit of the week?
You talking about football?
Anything.
Oh, anything?
It can be football.
Well, you know, as you get older, the one thing for me is your health. People talk about it, but because when I was growing up, somebody would say, "Well, I'm thankful for my health." I'm like, "What's your health for?" But for me to be at 56 years old and to have my health and the energy to still do this job and have fun doing it, I'm very thankful for. You know, and I have a beautiful family and all those different things, but just to kind of put one thing in perspective, I think about that a lot, and I'm very appreciative of that, to still be able to do this at a high level.
In terms of football, you've probably referenced several of the things during this press conference. In terms of football, what are you most thankful for this year?
That we figured out how to run block, honestly, because that's made it a much funner year. So when we changed our concepts, everybody bought in. It worked out well. I don't need to go over all that. We've talked about it. It's made a much funner season.
Good. Does it really help you that it's really simple at this point in terms of beyond this Saturday, that your message really doesn't have to change at all with these guys? Not that it would, but, you know.
The message that I give them, we'll meet today, later, is that over the last 8 weeks that they bought into the process to get to Saturday. And in my opinion, the challenge as a coach now is to get them to understand the importance of just today's meetings, today's walkthroughs, because of all the other things going on in their life with phones and social media and outside attention. So I just want them to continue the process that they've used over the last 8 weeks. That gives them the best chance to play well on Saturday afternoon.
I think I asked you last year, what Thanksgiving dish are you most looking forward to on Thursday?
Well, I like all the vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a vegetarian or anything, but my sister and they all cook my mom's vegetables and stuff. Green bean casserole, sweet potato casserole, all different kinds of potatoes.
You a dessert guy?
Oh, I eat all the desserts too. Yeah, I'll eat anything. But all the vegetables, asparagus, all that stuff, I'm all for that. Thanks, guys.